Hey there, Jenna Peacock with Croft Realty. Today I wanted to do a quick video about a topic that I feel very concerned about as a real estate agent, and that is homeowners insurance. And there is a big problem brewing with homeowners insurance right now in premiums. Just the fact that premiums are so expensive as they are right now, a lot of people are having double, going on more than 50% or 100% increases in their premiums in the past couple of years. But if you have not bought or sold a house in the past couple of years, or even in the past year, I'd say, maybe even last 6 months, then you're not aware of what's happening in the insurance industry when it comes to selling or buying a property. There's a lot of ripple effects that are going on in the insurance business right now. It feels very much like a house of cards, if I'm being honest with you. And there's a lot of weather-related incidents that are happening all over the country. All of these insurance companies are connected, and it's like, so if we have several catastrophes across the country when it comes to insurance, claims and stuff like that, it's going to have a ripple effect on the rest of the country. And right now in DFW, we've had tons of wind and hailstorms in the past. Like this spring, we've had a lot of weather, and we always do, but feels like it's been especially bad. And what I'm noticing, what's happening is everybody's becoming hyper focused on foundational issues with houses in a way that I've never seen before. I'm not saying that we shouldn't always be hyper focused on all these things when people are buying a house, but I've had more people, sending cameras down pipes during the option period to inspect the pipes. Multiple roofing companies come out and do estimates on the roof, multiple foundation inspections, things like that. And sorry, that's my dog trying to get into the dog door. I don't have my microphone like I normally do. But it's part of it is because buyers are becoming first of all, they can be very, they're in a position right now in the market that we're in that they can be very particular about the house that they're buying, and they can be very weary of buying houses and really, there for a while when they were buying houses, it was so competitive, they were waiving option fees completely and just buying it sight unseen. And now the pendulum has swung completely the other direction, where it's very worrisome to go through an option period because you just don't know what kind of inspection these people are going, the buyers are going to want. And but second of all, it's the insurance companies that are forcing a lot of this, and especially the roofs. So I guess it was back in, when did we close in that house? October, November. I had a listing. The roof was 13 years old, and the inspection came back on the house that the roof it had typical wear and tear. There was no leaks, no problems with the roof whatsoever. In a normal market, it would have just been like, okay, great, we're moving on. But because these shingles were a certain type, I was told, the buyer calls me and says, the buyer's agent calls me and says, well, they're worried that they're not going to insure the roof. And I said, why would an insurance company not insure the roof? Because if it's over 12 years old with these particular types of shingles, they just decided, like that week, they had just decided that they're not going to insure homes with this type of shingle over this certain age. And I'm like, how can they do that? She's like, I don't know, but that's what they're doing. Well, luckily, so I'm like, so my seller's going to have to put another roof on the house out of the cost of the seller of the house just to be able to insure the house. And that is absolutely ridiculous. And so luckily they found an insurance agent and it went through. But now I was just on the phone with a lender yesterday. He said now they're not even insuring $1 million homes anymore because the roofs are so expensive to replace. I'm like, how can you just not insure $1 million homes? He goes, only like one or two, like one company will do it. And as a realtor, honestly, it gets me very upset, because what this shows is that our insurance, especially when it comes to home, is a huge house of cards. If you cannot, because it's based on the premise that not everyone is going to have replacements or catastrophic events that you're going to have to file claims for all at once, because all the money is tied up in all these investments and all these different places. So it's like, and people are paying into those premiums, but when everybody's filing claims, they can't, there's not enough income for it, or there's not enough profit left in it, or they just can't afford to pay for everything that's going on. And as a result, what's going to happen, and what's happening right now, is that sellers are going to have to take on the burden despite the fact that they're insured. So let's, like, a seller's been insured now for 20 years. Okay, let's just assume that a seller has been insured for 20 years and they filed maybe one roof claim when they first got the house, and they have not filed a claim since. So the new buyer's agent says, the buyer's insurance company says, we can't approve this a policy on this roof unless it gets replaced. Well, this other seller's insurance is like, there's nothing wrong with the roof, so we can't approve a replacement. So in order to sell that house, that seller that did everything they were supposed to do is going to have to pay for a new roof out of their pocket. The sellers are not prepared for this. And this is not the way that the system was supposed to work. And so now us as agents, nobody's telling us what's going on that I know of. I didn't hear anything about this. It's like, it's this ripple effect. And there's so many parts to it, and I don't want to start speaking, out of the wrong side of my mouth, or whatever the term is, where I'm just saying things that I don't sound educated on. But it does worry me for sellers, because it's already a hard market with, the interest rates being as they are, and the property taxes, which have gone through the roof, which I'll do a whole other video on. But now they're going to have to replace structural parts of a home, entire structural parts of a home, because a new insurance buyer won't cover it, and their current insurance. So it's not bad enough for their current insurance provider to fix it, but it's bad enough to where a new insurance provider is not going to cover it. This is not sustainable. Like, there's nothing about this that's sustainable or fair to either party in this transaction. So one choice is I'm not going to sit here and say that I know the answer to all this, but I will say that part of the problem with every insurance, auto, health, and home, is that we exist in a system where the consumer, or the customer, or the payee, I should say, is not the actual customer. The insurance companies are the customer. And so what's happening is, when a roofer comes to my house, it's not me that's going to pay for that roof. It's my insurance company that's going to pay for that roof. I get to choose the company, but the amount of money that it's going to cost is not up to me. It's up to them. So what's going on is, you have roofers that are, and I'm not saying that roofers are bad people. Everybody's in business to make money. I'm not trying to say that. But a roofer is going to come along and be like, oh yeah, that's going to need a huge roof. It's going to be $35,000. My parents and my next door neighbors have told this story multiple times. In the fall, they both had their roofs replaced at the same exact time. One of their roofs was $19,000 claim. The other one was $44,000. There's no rhyme or reason. They had the exact same insurance company. Why are there such discrepancies in the cost of all these products that we're replacing? So, and the other thing that goes on is, like, when you have insurance for all of these parts of your house, but it doesn't insure everything. So, like, you have insurance for a roof at full replacement value, but not patching. So if you have a roof that is in need of some repair but does not need a whole roof, nobody's doing patching on roofs anymore, not as a widespread scale. First of all, because they don't have the savings, and they're like, well, I'll just wait it out until the next hailstorm and just have the whole house replaced, or the whole roof replaced. It's like everybody crosses their fingers and hopes that they get that next big storm so that they can get an entire roof replacement, when that's not always necessary. But if they were the ones that were actually having to buy that roof out of their pocket, it would be a totally different story. It's the same way whenever I started being a cash pay patient, getting medical service. It's like, when I had insurance, the same exact doctor's visit with insurance was $300, but as a cash pay patient, it was $80. There's no rhyme or reason to how any of this is functioning. And it's because we the consumer have no control over what deals are being struck and who gets paid what and all this other stuff. We don't have that choice. And so, and it's the same thing with car insurance. It's like what's happening with car insurance is that they're building these cars so completely dependent on electrical gadgets and gizmos and all this stuff that they have to put in there, that it's like if you bump into a car and it messes with the camera and a bumper, you've totaled the car, which is completely out of control. It's going to bankrupt everybody if we don't do something. So my suggestion, and I don't know if there's lenders out there listening or legislators or whoever might get wind of this video, but we've got to make the consumer the customer again. I mean, the payee, the customer when it comes to all these things. Now, the idea behind insurance is a good one. The bank has to be able to secure the thing that they have loaned money on. I understand that. I mean, the reason you really do have insurance is because of catastrophic problems. Like if your house burns up and you have to build the whole thing from scratch. We have to be able to have some type of insurance, and it's not feasible to think that a person can set aside $400,000 to build their own house. So you have to have insurance. But the problem is all these incidentals and all these parts of the house that really should not be dependent upon the system itself. And I'll give you an example. Like, let me tell you what my suggestion would be. Roofs, there needs to be something where instead of maybe lenders could figure out a way to have some type of escrow account. It would basically be like an insurance system where you pay kind of like an escrow where you prepay all your taxes and you pay to your mortgage and stuff. But what you're doing is it's a specialty, account that you have access to only for a specific reason. So let's say that when I bought my house, I started a roof fund where I was paying, that was a part of my mortgage payment, and the lender that was in charge of my loan had it was connected to my mortgage account. And when there needed to be work done on my roof, I was able to spend money out of my own account. And what would happen is, number one, the cost of roofs would go down. Because yes, materials are high. I assume that people keep saying that. I don't really know what roofs. I don't know the cost of roofs right now, but the cost of roofs would go down because they would not be artificially inflated by the insurance industry. That's what insurance industries have done the way that we use them. That's just the truth. So they would have to start competing for that person's business with actual real money, and you can figure out a way that this it's kind of like a MetaShare system. I don't know if y'all know what MetaShare is, but like MetaShare is a type of insurance system where everybody is a part of one big group, and it's way smaller premiums. And when one person has a catastrophe, the chances that everyone will have a catastrophe at once is very minimal. So let's say that one person out of 200 people that are part of this plan suddenly found out that they had breast cancer. What they do with MetaShare is they say if everybody paid an additional $10 a month, we could pay for all of her insurance coverage at cost. So basically, it's a system where it's a cash pay, which means that there's not a third party in between, and that doctor or whoever it was would get paid in cash. They wouldn't have to go through the insurance system, and everybody in that membership would be able to pay a little bit more for if they're in good health, So maybe the idea is all these accounts in a bank, there's ways to borrow money, because the idea that everybody would need a new roof at the exact same moment, at the exact same time, is just not good. I mean, we know that roofs get replaced a lot, but it's not like every single roof is getting replaced at the same time. So, but the cost would go down because you're paying directly for something, and that makes me, again, the customer. I get to choose which person I pick. And not only that, you're not going, because if you had a system like that, you're not going to want a new roof every time. The way that this insurance business has done it, it's incentivized us wanting hailstorms on our house. Because if we get a bad hailstorm, we get a whole new roof. I can't guarantee you, you do not care what kind of roof you have as long as it's holding in your house and there's no leaks. As long as it's keeping things out that it's supposed to keep out. It doesn't matter if there's a couple of shingles that are, darker because we patched that part. People don't, that kind of stuff, unless you're living in like a really high-end kind of house. Most roofs, you don't even see a lot of them anyways. So people would be a lot more apt to repair the stuff that they had as opposed to getting an entire new roof every time that there's a bad hailstorm. That just doesn't make sense. But that's the system that we have. And what's happening is it's bankrupting the system that is just a house of cards waiting to collapse. And it's not fair to the people that have insurance. It's not fair to the people that it's going to destroy the real estate market if we continue to do this. People are not going to want to sell their house and pay for all these things. It's just too much. So the insurance industry has got to innovate. Y'all have got to start thinking of different ways to take care of all these things. There's got to be a change. And up until now, I don't think that there's been enough of an incentive to change everything because everything's just been flowing. But now what's happening is the natural weather system is such that it is causing, and all these disasters across the country, everything that's happening, at the same time, is causing a emergency situation where people are like, what are we going to do now? Well, what you're going to do now is we're going to pivot and we're going to find a different way. Maybe that means that the system that we had is no longer working in the world that we're in right now. Maybe this is telling us that we need a new way of doing things and we're going to have to shift. I personally am going to, be very vigilant on, we're going down to Austin in a couple weeks. I'm going to put this bug in everybody's ear as much as I can that we've got to do something about this insurance problem. I don't think the answer is the government to come in and save the insurance companies. I think the answer is if the banks want collateral and they want that insurance, because the insurance is not only for the consumer, it's also for the bank to protect their investment. I think that the banks and the insurance companies are going to have to figure this problem out where we lower the costs of everything. And the only way to lower the cost is if Americans go back to paying for things out of their pocket instead of through insurance companies. And that is the way that it's got to be for everything, because that's why medication is so high. That's why doctor's visits are so expensive, is because we as Americans don't feel the pain of that doctor's visit. I mean, unless you have a big copay, but if you just go to a regular checkup and it's covered by insurance, you have no idea whether that doctor's visit costs $300 or $1,000, and it doesn't matter to you one way or the other because your insurance company is just going to pay for it. But what's happening is they can't afford to keep doing that. And so what keeps the cost down is people paying for, and I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the same thing that's true with credit cards. You don't feel the pain of the cost of how high things get if you are, you're paying it out over time. So if a refrigerator has gone from $500 to $1,000 over a period of, a couple of years, and you're paying for cash, you're going to notice that a $500 refrigerator is now $1,000. But if they're offering financing and the only thing you care about is that you have a $50 payment, you're just like, well, you don't know that things have gone up. I think that right now what's happening in the insurance industry is that there's an awareness. There's a huge an awakening and an awareness that this is a problem. And it's really a problem. And we've got to figure out a way to fix it, or else we are going to have even more of a housing crisis than we are already in. And that's not good. So that's just my thoughts for today. I hope, and if you are a seller, now I've been through the change of the insurance has been the last 6 months, and I've gone through it with several houses since then. So if you are concerned because you need to sell your house, or a loved one's house or whatever, call me and I'll be happy to help walk you through what could potentially be roadblocks that could make the deal just totally trip up and fall apart. We'll talk about that ahead of time so that you can be prepared with getting a good price on your house. You can understand what kind of condition your house is in according to the insurance providers and what is going to keep a buyer from being able to buy it and what we can do to fix that problem before you get down into the deal and it falls apart. So call me. I'll be glad to do that. I feel very confident in being able to walk people through this now that I've gone through a few listings with this issue. So my number is 214-558-4410. Bye.